It is part two of the week three preview here on the Audible. That's right, Cecil Lammey and Sigmund Bloom and Atlanta and Carolina. And the Atlanta side, we're like, okay, Bijan Robinson, let's do some more. And well, Michael Penix do some more as well as he continues to learn and get up to his speed in his first full year of starting.
Yeah, with Penix, it's interesting, Cease, to hear. I don't remember who it was for Atlanta saying, well, we thought they weren't going to continue to play too high for the whole second half, but they did. So we kept running. And again, 39 carries between Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. And will Carolina do the same thing? I mean, because we would expect that Atlanta should be able to control this game. Algier is definitely a what the heck flex this week. Carolina can't cover tight ends, so Kyle Pitts is a good play this week. And what you're wondering again is, are they going to challenge Penix? Brian Flores, he seemed to respect Michael Penix. What about Ejiro Evero? And what's going to happen here is you want Drake London, Darnell Mooney, who's getting healthier, to get their big plays in before this game gets out of hand. Carolina's basically been blown out 2 straight weeks, and Atlanta's defense is coming in hot here. So there's a bit of a boom bust aspect to all of Penix and London and Mooney. But what it does show you is Michael Penix is already getting that respect in year 2 of his career. Defensive coordinators can see that he's ready, willing, and able to throw downfield, and he's got receivers who can make plays on the other end of those passes.
Yeah, he's got some damn receivers. We'll see if they come through for him there as well with Bryce Young. And just Carolina in general, the good feelings we had last year, Bloom, I don't know. Are they gone?
Yeah, they're gone. And the funny thing is, poor Dave Canales, my confidence level in Bryce Young is still very high, or something to that effect. But yeah, he's looked overwhelmed for most of this season. 2 games in, there was garbage time. But what we saw against Atlanta is the addition of James Pierce, the addition of Jalen Walker. This defense is starting to look pretty ferocious now. So I don't see them letting up on Bryce Young. Atlanta's a good defense to play this week. Bryce Young, again, you're counting on garbage time probably, but this isn't Arizona. I don't think you're going to see them let up. The good news, if you have Chuba Hubbard, is he scored touchdowns in garbage time each of the last 2 weeks. Keep him in as running back too. Of course, Tetaroa McMillan is going to produce no matter what. He's producing even when it's not garbage time. And then if you're liking the garbage time, dumpster diving, last week Hunter Renfrow was a wide receiver 1. Jatavian Sanders had 7 catches last week. So if you're projecting that 55 passes, I don't think Bryce Young's going to throw 55 passes because there can be more sacks, more pressure. Are we on Andy Dalton watch? Are we on David Tepper getting that itchy trigger finger? Dave Canales watch? If it's another embarrassing game, it's time to start asking those questions.
Okay. Sorry, Carolina. It's on to Houston and Jacksonville. Christian Kirk has been practicing. Again, full disclosure, we're recording Thursday morning, but we've got a day of practice for Christian Kirk, which is good because basically our Iowa State kids have been letting us down early on in the season. Hell, it's not like Nico Collins have been tearing it up. Houston, we have a problem. Maybe Christian Kirk helps that problem.
Maybe a better intermediate short range target. And this is a defense, Jacksonville, again, they made Bryce Young look bad, maybe not that difficult, and they made Jake Browning look good. Well, on most of Jake Browning's plays, Jake Browning leading a stirring comeback against Jacksonville's defense. So we're not really afraid of Jacksonville's defense. I'm not saying you're going to start CJ Stroud, but you want to see if there's signs that he's turning the corner, again, with Christian Kirk back. You want to see signs that they're going to get Nico Collins involved, more involved. He's in your lineup, but you want one of those ceiling games, not just a long touchdown, but a long touchdown and 4 or 5, 6 more catches. And signs of life for Nick Chubb, although you got to love Tampa saying, did you let Nick Chubb score? I'm not saying we didn't. We won the game. Who cares? I love it. So I mean, what does that mean? Tampa's run defense is really tough. Jacksonville's run defense has been good, but expecting Houston to be competitive in this game, Nick Chubb is at least a what the heck flex. And remember, last year, Nico Collins, by the way, had 20 catches for 270 yards and a touchdown against Jacksonville in the 2 games. 8 for 119 was his lesser game. So let's see more of that from Houston's passing game.
Let's see more of that, please. And Jacksonville side of things. Let's see more of Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
It's totally not the wrist. Okay. And maybe more of Ashel Tootin there as well. In addition to Travis Hunter, just continue, again, a lot of these rookies, people shaking their fists at the heavens. All right, just give them some time, whether it's Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, whoever.
A lot of really smart people did some deep dive investigations on the Jacksonville offense after last week. Most of them saying, hey, Trevor Lawrence is playing better than you would expect based on the numbers or based on their reputation. Now, Houston's a tough pass defense. I'm not saying Lawrence is a good streamer, and they actually have a somewhat rough schedule for the next month or so. But this will be a good litmus test of whether Lawrence is showing growth. And then Matt Waldman, the great Matt Waldman, in the gut check, which, by the way, is appointment reading. I don't know what he's up to now, like 600, 700 gut checks. It was about Brian Thomas, solely about Brian Thomas. And it's the kind of treatment that Matt Waldman would give to such a subject. And just know that the bottom line is he's saying, don't panic. It's going to be okay. Hopefully it's going to be okay this week, although we won't be surprised again if the Houston defense makes it hard for them to throw downfield. Travis Hunter is in. You keep him on your bench until he goes off. You don't drop him because of the sheer amount of talent, but it's just not clicking yet. So maybe De'Ami Brown, but again, it's the Houston defense. I mean, you really, maybe Travis Etienne is the only one we're trusting here. But as you mentioned, Bashal too. Now he's got, I think, a shoulder. So let's just why he's going to play. But I think that with Jacksonville, because they started out the season with Carolina and Cincinnati, we're not really sure about this offense yet. And we may get the pendulum to swing too far to the other side against a very good Houston defense. So it is Houston-Jacksonville, and we know Cecil in that game. Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. And then AFC West showdown, Denver Broncos, LA Chargers. They didn't beat the Chargers last year, and the Chargers with 3 divisional games to start their season. They'll be 3-0 if they beat the Broncos. How do they not beat the Broncos? Well, Evan Ingram is not practicing, and Sean Payton is not talking about it. He's like Jordan Hudson. We're not talking about it. So, okay, Sean. He did talk to me a little bit about RJ yesterday, talking about the hot hand and how RJ is still a big part. Sean's words. My question, Sean's word. RJ is still a big part of our offense. Let's put a pin in that if you're thinking about what the heck flex there. But hey, J.K. Dobbins' revenge game for Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, and Cortland Sutton could do more. Let's talk Broncos.
Yeah. RJ Harvey sees the fantasy community says, prove it to us, Sean Payton. Prove it. Prove he's a big part. Please back up your words with a workload. And, maybe that makes you less excited about J.K. Dobbins this week. If the Chargers can build a lead, I don't think Dobbins ends up being a big part of the game, but Troy Franklin does. Do you almost have more confidence in Troy Franklin than Cortland Sutton this week? They're both upside wide receiver 3 flex plays, but we're trying to get a fix on whether this passing game is going to be predictable, including Bo Nix. And if you're going into this game and you're Bo Nix, you're going to have to keep up with Justin Herbert. You're going to have to match him if Denver's going to stay in this game. So again, that makes it more, makes you more inclined to play Franklin, to play a Sutton. But yeah, see, what's fascinating to me about this matchup is Denver's defense is the kind of defense that you would say they're going to dictate the terms. But the way Justin Herbert is playing right now, Denver's defense has to go in this game saying, how are we going to slow this guy down?
Right, because it's Greg Roman, and Leopard changes his spots, which did get me to talk about my leopard thong that I was wearing 2 days ago on the air. So, yes, it became the topic in all of Denver sports that Cecil Lammey wore a thong. Gentlemen, I'm just saying, if your lady wears lingerie, you can also wear some lingerie, not some manly thong with leopard print on it. Anyway, I don't want to take the show off the rails, and sorry, Joe, but I don't know. Joe Bryant might have a thong. Anyway, Justin Herbert. It's an image. I don't know. Hey, buddy, stop talking about my thong. That's in my freak drawer, buddy. Yeah. Anyway, Justin Herbert's a freak because he's passing all day long, and Broncos defense doesn't look very good.
Yeah. Yeah, see, it's like, the drawer, and when you were in school and there was the drawer of all the stuff the teacher would confiscate, We have a drawer like that as adults. It's not the stuff. It's the stuff we don't want anyone to know about, except those people that trust us. And we trust Justin Herbert. We trust Justin Herbert as a top 5, top 6 quarter. He's on fire. And you saw what Daniel Jones in the Indy passing game did against Denver last week. We're not afraid of Denver's defense right now. We're afraid of Justin Herbert. And Ladd McConkey, what we're afraid of is biceps. I don't like seeing biceps on an injury report. So we're waiting. It's Thursday morning as we record this. We're waiting. You're playing Keenan Allen anyway. Now, Quentin Johnston's a little more interesting because I would imagine Pat Surtain would match up with Quentin Johnston. I'm not saying avoid Quentin Johnston because it only takes one play. It only takes one play where he's matched up against Riley Moss. But So it could be interesting to see if Justin Herbert can keep this up if there's bad news coming about Ladd McConkey. And that would be Trey Harris's music, by the way, as a what the heck flex. So keep that in mind if we hear after we record this show that McConkey is not going to play. Speaking of Harris, Najee Harris. I think you're going to see Najee Harris move ahead of Omarion Hampton in this one after the fumble. Najee Harris is just better at all the running back jobs, and maybe he can get some goal line opportunities. That's what we're all going to be watching very closely, is if it's a goal to go, who's in, who gets the carry. And like you said, Cease, this is a chance for them to sweep the division in the first 3 weeks of the season. You cannot have a better start to the season.
Wouldn't it be weird if they picked up a 4-time 1,000-yard rusher, guy's never not had 1,000 yards, and then not get him 1,000 yards? I'd rather talk about the Chargers than the Saints, but it's Saints in Seattle up next here on the Big Show, and Spencer Rattler coming off that career-high 3 touchdowns. Okay, gives you a little more confidence in Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and obviously our confidence continues in the great Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, going to give it all. What's going to be fascinating to watch here is Spencer Rattler. He's got a lot of fight. Saints team's got a lot of fight, but that was against Arizona and San Francisco's defenses. This is a Seattle defense that is rough, and it may show more of Spencer Rattler's limitations, of this offense's limitations. So Chris Olave is, these guys are treading Rashid Shaheed, treading the line between wide receiver 3 flex, what the heck flex. Juwan Johnson's probably the most reliable play in this passing game, partially because of the low bar at tight end, partially because Spencer Rattler has trusted him even whenever he's had some drops. Alvin Kamara is still a running back 2 here, but again, it might be more through receptions. He did have the 6 receptions last week after only having 2 in week 1. So you do know that if everything's difficult for New Orleans against Seattle's defense, then Alvin Kamara is probably going to get more short passes as they're trying to come back. And maybe this will be the game where they don't hang in until the end, because Seattle is starting to come together, and see, now they've got a passing game.
Yeah, now they've got a passing game. Now with more passing games, maybe a little more Torrey Horton for my personal stake in Fessel Alpha. But yeah, let's talk about Sam Darnold in this show and the running back trouble, ? That Seattle may be in here.
Yeah, another injury we're watching here, Zach Charbonnet missing practice with a foot. Now, I don't think that means you're going to see Kenneth Walker get 70% of the snaps. Here's what's going to happen. Kenneth Walker will be on like 30 snaps and touch the ball on 25 of them. So you will probably see George Holani, maybe even Damian Martinez would be called up from the practice squad if Charbonnet can't go. But again, we're monitoring that. Walker is in. Charbonnet is a what the heck flex if he can get in at least a couple of limited practices, or limited practice on Friday, depending on what the team says. But beat writer saying that the Mike McDonald said nothing serious or nothing crazy or something like that with the injuries, but still, that sometimes for coaches that mean he's not done for the year, And Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's a fantasy superstar now, but Cooper Kupp rekindling some images of the past when he's getting those short catches and adding yards after catch. So he's at least what the heck flex, wide receiver 3 flex. Sam Darnold warming up even as a potential spot start here, looking very good last week. And again, this offense showing balance, although maybe it's just because the Steelers defense is the highest paid defense in the NFL by $25 million. Brooke Pryor was telling us that, like, I'm a neurotic Steelers fan, even when we're not talking about the Steelers.
Yeah, that's right. It's a Steelers show. 4 games down, 4 games to go. And what the heck flex? It's Cowboys and Bears here on the Audible. 20 years of the Audible. And, well, it doesn't take 20 years of fantasy football podcast to say Dak Prescott's going to throw 52 times, just like he did last week. We're watching a Devontae Turpin neck injury, but you're looking forward to maybe Miles Sanders as a what the heck flex to go with the confidence you have in Javonte.
Yeah, this Bears pass defense, top 2 corners are hurt. Dak is hot. Now, last year, and you love this too, Cease, they were asking Dallas about this, and they said, oh, well, we know they're going to double team CD Lamb because that's what Dennis Allen did last year with New Orleans, which I think is great. I mean, this is that mind game, right? You just said we know. So does that mean that you're trying to induce Dennis Allen? You're saying, like, well, that's actually the best strategy. So Dennis Allen maybe backs off of that, but you're playing CD Lamb no matter what. But the possibility of that, because Cease, Dennis Allen seems like the kind of guy, you covered Dennis Allen, that if you say you're going to do this, he's not going to be like, oh, I better not do that. Like, now I'm really going to show you. Now I'm really going to do it. So George Pickens has a really high ceiling this week against that secondary, and Jake Ferguson is going to pick up the slack, like you said, with Cavante Turpin. If it's Jalen Tolbert, I think Tolbert had like 9 targets in that New Orleans-Dallas game last year, as a deep what the heck flex. And Dak Prescott is a great play this week. But we just got to talk about Javonte Williams. And Cecil, maybe this is a moment for you to just reflect a little bit on the 4 years you spent covering him, because you're rooting for him. And for fantasy, he's a running back 1 this week. And I don't see him falling from those ranks, even though they lost Cooper Beebe, their center. So it's great to see Javonte Williams successful, not because he got all of his burst back and he's the running back he was in North Carolina, but because he never stopped caring and investing in himself and believing in himself. And it looks like he's going to help fantasy teams, at least in the first half of the year, be very strong.
Dennis Allen's idea of good cinema is ABC after school special. Bears side of things, we're watching DeAndre Swift injury, little bit banged up, Bloom. So Matt Waldman, favorite Kalaman guy. You're up, as Swift has a quadriceps injury that limited him practice on Wednesday. Again, recording Thursday morning. Let's see on Friday what he does. But let's talk about the Bears, and it's going to take some time. But, man, Ben Johnson may be frustrated right now. That's just a guess, Bloom.
Yeah, Ben Johnson saying we don't have the practice habits of a champion. And as Justice Mosqueda said, I love Justice. First, Justice said, how would you know what a champion's practice habits look like? But as Amy Trask, who doesn't love Amy Trask, said, you're the coach. You're actually, the person in charge of those things. So, maybe getting a little chafed here, being the coach of the Bears. But from a fantasy standpoint, you mentioned DeAndre Swift, who hasn't been successful as a runner. Bears actually aren't doing too bad of a job blocking the running game. DeAndre Swift not doing much. So might we see, even without the injury, more Kyle Monangai? Either way, against Dallas, it's going to have to be a Caleb Williams game. He's got a high ceiling this week. Dallas, we saw what they were giving up through the air to Russell Wilson. Caleb Williams did look better on tape in week 2, fitting in the Ben Johnson offense. So you love Roma Dunze. DJ Moore has a high ceiling, air on the side of playing him. And then that's it. Lammey Zacchaeus is going to play his role, which keeps Luther Burden's role small. Cole Kmet is playing over Colston Loveland. But I think this is another game that you're going to probably see Ben Johnson frustrated, unless, which we did see almost down the stretch a few times last week, this is a chance for Caleb Williams to rekindle memories of USC. Caleb Williams putting the team on his back. He's going to have to outduel Dak Prescott if they have a chance to win.
It's an NFC West battle in Arizona and San Francisco. Cardinals side will continue to monitor the Trey Benson, James Conner split there. Obviously, you've got Trey McBride in. We'll talk about Kyler Murray, and then we'll talk about the disappointment that is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, and you don't love Kyler Murray saying, well, hey, sometimes Marvin Harrison might get 3 targets, sometimes he might get 10 targets. They're not telling us anything's going to change. And it didn't change from last year. So Marvin Harrison Jr., more of a boom bust wide receiver 3 flex in this one. And we were wondering about Kyler Murray, who has been a solid fantasy quarterback and has made some plays. The play he made at the end of the first half with 9 seconds left, and the team says we got 1 shot to the end zone, and he feathered it in there perfectly. That's the kind of play we want to see from him, but we don't see it consistently. The game so far, Arizona has basically been blowing out their opponent and then let up. So in this game, I don't think they're going to blow out San Francisco. Do we see more from Kyler Murray for fantasy? Do we see more targets to Marvin Harrison Jr.? Do we just see Trey McBride catch like 12 balls? We know that James Conner hasn't been doing very much as a runner. The running game hasn't gotten on track. If they're trailing, we'll probably see more Trey Benson. So Conner moves down to bottom of your running back 2 flex ranks. Benson a little closer to him, but really, again, this is probably going to be a Kyler Murray game if Arizona can somehow win on the road and go to 3-0 atop the division.
Let's talk about the 49ers, which means let's talk about Mac Jones. What did we learn against the Saints? Well, he looked really good on third downs. He looked really good the whole game, but it's the Saints. Now against the Cardinals, and I know, Brock Purdy may actually be the number 2. Okay. For love of God, hey, rush Brock Purdy back. I dare you. Yeah. I dare you, Kyle. Do it.
Yeah.
The way Mac Jones played, let that toe heal, baby.
Yeah, and I think we saw Purdy officially in a limited practice. They're not playing him this week. That's crazy. Not the way that Mac Jones played. It's a long season. So Mac Jones is there for you. So it's wild how Mac Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Carson Wentz, all these Marcus Mariota, all these backup quarterbacks getting in have some fantasy intrigue this week. Mac Jones playing with instructor. Arizona's secondary is really banged up, but Juwan Jennings is banged up. Add ankle to his list of injuries. And if he didn't practice on Wednesday, if Juwan Jennings doesn't play, then Ricky Pearsall is a tremendous play. But even if Jennings does play, and we want to see Jennings at least get in like a limited practice, then both of them are good plays. And Christian McCaffrey set up to touch the ball like 25, 30 times. Again, in this one, again, the good quarterback play. And give it up for John Lynch, Cease, because they signed Mac Jones to a 2-year deal. A 2-year, $7 million deal. Don't be surprised if we hear trade rumors about Mac Jones this offseason.
Okay. I was going to say trade rumors about Brock Purdy, but we're on a time limit. We're on a time limit, Bloom. We're on a time limit. Chiefs and Giants up next. The time limit's okay. We don't have much to say about this game because they're both 0-2. So desperation time for Kansas City on the road.
And Patrick Mahomes against the Giants secondary, they couldn't cover in zone. They couldn't cover in man. It's the Patrick Mahomes offense. So they're going to try to get pressure after him, but sometimes that can play right into Mahomes' hands. It's a bit difficult to project this passing game because Xavier Worthy's back. Jalen Royals is back. We may see some of the rookie. I think still Tyquan Thornton, if you're going to play any one of these receivers, Tyquan Thornton is the one because, again, Giants not covering just takes one deep ball from Mahomes to Thornton. Maybe one deep ball from Mahomes to Worthy. I'd expect he's practicing without limitations, but I think it's Thornton right now that has that speed to get behind the defense and the ability to fully extend for the ball. If they get a lead, do we see more Isaiah Pacheco? Do we see Brashard Smith? Do we see some signs of life in the running game here? Do we see Travis Kelce not look old in this game? Maybe Travis Kelce, still an okay fantasy play, but with the wide receivers getting healthier, do we see less of him? And do we see Russell Wilson say, I still got it. I can duel with Patrick Mahomes?
Right. He's done it before. He'll do it again, and he'll do it on Sunday. So that means moonballs.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and then the rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, just like Michael Stott, Cam Scatterboo.
Yeah, you got to love it. With Russell Wilson, again, streamable because they can't really run the ball, and Wilson willingness to throw deep to Malik Neighbors, to Wan'Dale Robinson, who's in there as a wide receiver, 3 flex, knowing that they're going to have to put the foot on the gas on offense. Might even get Andrew Thomas back this week. That's the hope, their best offensive lineman. That could certainly change the complexion. Scadaboo's in there as a running back 2, or at least as a flex. Tyrone Tracy, well, if you get kickoff return yards, maybe you'll like him. Kansas City's defense is pretty tough, even though we saw Justin Herbert take them apart. And then, against Philadelphia, we just saw them play a soft zone and let Philadelphia kind of run off the clock with the running game and the defense. So maybe Kansas City's defense might be stressed a little bit more against Russell Wilson, who's, again, found that moon ball, and that's what he's got in the passing game.
Monday night, get your popcorn ready because it's Lions and Ravens, and let's start with the Lions side. As this one could, Super Bowl preview. Okay. It'd be nice for both teams.
Oh, my. I mean, if I could make a wish out of the universe for the Super Bowl matchup that did not involve the Steelers, because I got to still, be true to my homeland, this would be it. So Jared Goff, man, speaking of quarterback duels, this has been kind of a theme. Jared Goff's going to have to match Lamar Jackson. Whew. Yeah, well, he was able to do it last week against Chicago, but this is not Chicago's defense. Baltimore, Marlon Humphrey is a little banged up here, but you want to see what they can do if they can establish the run. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, and David Montgomery, when he's playing well last week, was just kind of a meh flex, like a 12-point, 13-point flex. A lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot of Jamison Williams, maybe even a little more Isaac Tesla. Not going to matter for fantasy, with the exception of it might help you play Jared Goff, because there's another target who can make big plays in a game where they're probably going to need big plays. And keep playing Sam Laporta, even though he didn't have a big game last week. Remember, Brock Wright got the touchdown. But this is a game, Cease, where I think if you're Detroit and you're looking at this, you're thinking we got to score 35, 38, 41. And we still might need even score more to win, because this is truly a pick your poison Ravens offense.
Yeah, now with more Tez Walker as a what the heck flex. Spoiler alert. Because, well, if Mark Andrews didn't do anything, Zay Flowers, you're up. DeAndre Hopkins, you're up. Love Tez Walker as a what the heck flex. And, well, Derrick Henry's not going to get shut down 2 weeks in a row, Bloom.
No, it's not going to happen because you saw how easy it was for Lamar Jackson to throw the ball downfield against a defense that was focused on Derrick Henry. You're never taking Derrick Henry out of the lineup, but it's probably a Lamar Jackson week again as far as who's going to do more of the heavy lifting for this offense. And Zay Flowers, we know we can play Zay Flowers. He doesn't even catch one of the 4 touchdowns last week, still has 7 catches for 70-some yards. So Zay Flowers is in. And then otherwise, Rashad Bateman hasn't done much yet. And, for fantasy, we're just waiting to see, is he even worth rostering in deeper leagues? Because enter Tez Walker, a lot of buzz coming out of him, coming out of camp about him. And DeAndre Hopkins, and we're this close to DeAndre Hopkins having 3 catches for 3 touchdowns. And not easy catches and not easy touchdowns necessarily either. And now, DeAndre Hopkins is only playing 10 or 15 snaps a game. What happens if he starts playing a bigger role in this offense? That's something to watch as we may be looking ahead to some waiver wire intrigue. But hopefully, Cease, when this game starts, forget about your fantasy football teams. Forget what you need to win. Just enjoy some really good football from some teams, some organizations who give us a lot to watch and talk about and admire every week.
We give you a lot to talk about here on this show. And of course, at the end of part 2, we go our ever popular what the heck flex. When you need some punch in your lineup, who are some of those players? You can just throw it up to the football gods and say, please answer me. Bashal Tootin, Miles Sanders, Blake Corum, Dylan Simpson. He's paid off for me as a what the heck flex for 2 weeks. So I'm rolling it. Do it again. Roll it. Got a hot shooter. That's what my man Frank Schwab says at the craps table. Hot shooter. So, yeah, throw it down there. Throw them dice with Dylan Simpson, Tez Walker, Christian Kirk. I was going to say James Palmer. Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer is one. My buddy James Palmer, of course, one of the best out there. Bloom, it's week 3. Who are some of your what the heck flexes?
Robert Palmer. Gonna have to face it, Cease. You're addicted. You're addicted to love.
I'm addicted to Frank Schwab.
Frank Schwab. I forgot that Frank. We love Frank. So running backs actually doing well enough that you have some good running backs that might be your what the heck flex this week. Cam Scadaboo, Nick Chubb, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Tyler Algier, Najee Harris, Travion Henderson against that $25 million more than any other defense. Steelers defense. On the wide receiver side, Tyquan Thornton, it just takes one, as I said. Matthew Golden, it just takes one. Kayshon Boutte, there's a theme here. It just takes one. Alec Aomanor against Indy, it just takes one. Alec Pierce against Tennessee, it just takes one. Josh Palmer, he's the guy that can go downfield on Thursday night and win outside against the hapless Miami secondary. And again, if Ladd McConkey is out, that could be Trey Harris's moment to step up. And hopefully this is a moment for your fantasy team to step up. And again, I always want to say, as I'm looking at the camera, thank you, folks. If you're still listening, watching right now, you're giving us your precious time. It means so much to us that we're part of your life journey, part of your football journey. You're part of ours. So have a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday night live as we try to make sense of everything that happened.
Follow Sigmund Bloom. Follow Cecil Lammey. Follow the Audible. Where's the enough to find? Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.